Thursday, June the 4th. Lake level just got under 930. It's like 929.95. And that's actually down almost 2 feet from what it was last week. They're letting a lot of water out of Table Rock, but there's a lot coming in from Beaver. So it has been dropping a couple inches a day. And I've been all over the lake. I've been up there by Eagle Rock, up in the James River, down the Long Creek area, and the debris is really not too bad. It seems like it's, the worst when there's no wind early in the morning. There's quite a few floaters floating around. But the water's in real good shape as far as the water clarity. And fishing's kind of all over the place. The fish are still pretty well scattered out. But I think the best bite by far, the first couple hours in the morning, if you can get around some topwater fish. And they're in different areas. I'm catching them on a lot of the same type of baits. Catching them on like a jointed redfin or a storm jointed thunderstick. A lot of different wake baits, like a Strike King wake shad. Just any type of wake bait that's going on top. Seems like the fish are wanting it pretty slow. Also, I've been able to catch some on Pawpaws and catching some on a Sexy Dog, which is similar to a Zara Spook. A lot of walking baits. And a lot of these fish are they're moving out. They're out over the deeper water. Every once in a while I catch a few up there in the bushes, but most of them seem like they're about from the visible tree line, which is about 12 to 15 foot deep, out to where the boat's sitting in 25, 30 feet. The shad are spawning in the morning, so they're real active. Now, I haven't caught them every morning like that. Some days you just don't find them. They seem to be in different locations. When I went up towards Big M and Eagle Rock Monday, we seen a few solo fish jumping around, but we didn't find too many school and didn't get on much of a topwater bite. But it seems like the best topwater bite has been from Shell Knob, probably to Baxter. And in that same areas, it seems like, they bite pretty good up to about 8:30. Then I think it gets kind of hard where you got to go down to the bottom or go to a swim bait. And a lot of the fish I've been catching on swim baits, I haven't done too much on the little, like the 2.8 Kitex. I've actually been catching them on bigger baits, like a scrounger head or just a swim bait. This particular swim bait's a 1/2 ounce. I've got a Zoom, it's about a 4-inch swim bait on it. It's like a chartreuse sexy shad. This one is a new scrounger head that Pulse Lures makes. Another one I throw that's real similar to it is the Lucky Strike. I've fished a lot of different scrounger heads, but these two are by far the best, the Pulse and the Lucky Strike. The reason I say they're the best, a lot of the other ones I found, if you reel them too fast, the bait rolls. And when it does that, it makes a mess out of your line. It'll put so much twist in there that you got to change it out. And normally when I'm throwing a scrounger head, I usually don't fish like a paddle tail. I use a straight tail. This is a caffeine shad, which is similar to a fluke. A lot of times I will use a Zoom Super Fluke or even the Magnum Fluke. If I'm throwing a straight swim bait head, then I will use like a paddle tail, like on a Kitech or a Strike King Rage Swimmer or like this Zoom. And depending on where I'm seeing the fish in the water column, I'll drop these baits down to 10, 15 foot and just slow roll them. Today we caught, one really nice meanmouth that was a little over 4 pounds. But a lot of these fish seem to be on points where the fish are post-spawn and they're back out, kind of resting, feeding on some of the shad while the shad are getting through their shad spawn before they start moving out deeper. Another way I've been able, we caught several fish the last few days as well, is on a Dixie Jet flutter spoon. And it's kind of the same places we'll throw the topwater baits, but some days when they won't come up, to bite a topwater bait, you'll see them down there suspended, or maybe one or two will come up and then you can't seem to catch them. Try the swim bait or pick up a flutter spoon. The flutter spoon is a really good bait this time of year when them fish start getting out there over the deeper water where they haven't really gone deep yet, but during that, from the surface down to 15 or 20 feet. And, you know, if there's any white bass around, you'll have a ball catching them. We found several schools of white bass in the last week or so. And you never know where you're going to stumble onto them, but they've been some big groups. If they'll show themselves where you can catch them on a top water, then they go back down, pick up a little swim bait or a flutter spoon. Now, been able to catch some stuff up in the bushes too, the days I've gone up in there. And what I've been throwing up in there is pretty much two things. I'm either flipping a jig or a beaver or a wacky rigged Senko. And on that wacky rigged Senko, like I mentioned before, I'm using a 16th ounce 5 Fish Lures Ultimate Ned head. And the reason I use that, it gives me a little bit of weight where I can throw it on, you know, 15-pound line. I can actually flip it. Without any weight on there, it's real hard to flip a weightless Senko. And on the colors, it seems like, you know, watermelon with a little red flake, green pumpkin. I'll use either Yamamoto or like a Strike King Zero, just whatever your favorite Senko bait is. Like a Ocho will also work. And I like to hook them right in the middle, put a little O-ring. I'll get a lot more life out of my bait. And with the wacky rig, it's just got a real funny kind of fall to it. So, and you know, actually there's still some fish up there spawning. It sounds kind of crazy the first week in June, but you know, the water temperature's in the mid 70s. Later in the day, you'll find some high 70s, but there's still quite a few fish spawning in different areas of the lake. Now on the jigs I've been throwing a 3/8 ounce Ultimate Cover jig. It's a 3/8 ounce. Another color is a Magic Craw, and it's got a little bluegill and brown in it. And I'm also throwing a beaver, and you know, I'll throw like a blue swirl or a California 420 Texas rig. And the best flipping bite for me has been around the base of trees, whether it be oak trees, you know, some willows, but more hardwoods. And you know, the more isolated you can find the trees, the better. I'm still struggling to get very many bites out of the new submerged bushes and the stuff that's real green. Seems like I got to find dead stuff. And you know, after your topwater bite and stuff slows down on some of them points, I've been able to catch them on a 3/4 ounce jig as well. Just dragging it like a football jig, and also been catching some fish on the Jewel Pee-wee football jig. It's kind of a real small profile bait, real light skirt. And I got a Ledge Rock Lures little tiny crawdad on it. You know, the fish are starting to eat a little bit bigger baits, but I've seen some fish belching out real little crawdads. So this little Jewel Pee-wee jig has been working good. It doesn't work too good for me in around the timber. Head seems to get hung up quite a bit, but out on the open gravel, on a lot of the main lake points, a good little bait. Been catching some fish on it as well. And, you know, and the Ned rig. You know, but it seems like when I got to go down to the bottom, whether it's on a Ned rig or the jig, and even a tube. You know, we caught fish on a tube today, either a green pumpkin, watermelon red with a 1/4 ounce head. You know, a lot of the same baits we've been throwing for a month or so. We're just starting to fish them out a little bit deeper, setting the boat about, you know, 25 to 30 feet. A lot of the fish seem to be 12 to 20 foot deep. And I'm just putting a 1/4 ounce head up inside, dragging the tube around. Now I've been throwing a crankbait a little bit. I thought once they got this water flow going, that a lot of places on these islands and inside of these points where there was a lot of water flow and current, I could pick them up on a crankbait. But when I have found fish grouped up, they've been in that 20 foot or deeper, 25 foot, where you can't reach them with a crankbait. And I've been able to get down to them with like the swim bait or a jig, you know, is how I've been able to catch them. And I haven't done very much on a crankbait. Hopefully as the water gets down a little bit more, maybe that crankbait bite will turn on a little bit better. So until next week, good luck, good fishing.